Good morning. Today is Wednesday, September 25th, and this is Devotions from St. Paul Evangelical Lutheran Church in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. I'm going to take a passage today from the Old Testament prophet Jeremiah. And this is from chapter 1, when Jeremiah was called by the Lord to be a prophet. And it's got a couple of things to tell us about being called by the Lord. So this is from chapter 1 of the book of Jeremiah. Now the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you a prophet to the nations. Then I said, Lord God, truly I do not know how to speak, for I am only a boy. But the Lord said to me, Do not say to me, I am only a boy. For you shall go to whom I send you, and you shall speak whatever I command you. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you to deliver you. Then the Lord put his hand out and touched my mouth. And the Lord said to me, Now I have put my words in your mouth. See, today I appoint you over nations and over kingdoms, to pluck up and to pull down, to destroy and to overthrow, to build and to plant. There's at least two ideas here I'd like to highlight and have you think about. The first, when the Lord first addressed Jeremiah, he said, Before you were in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you. Can you imagine? That's for us too. The Lord knew us before we were born and had hopes and desires for us before we were born, just like he did for Jeremiah. Now I say just like in that he had those hopes and desires. Not all of us are meant to be prophets. And that's probably good, because everyone talking at once, we wouldn't hear anything. But every one of us was called to do something. And the Lord knew us personally, individually, intimately, before we were born, and had hopes and desires for us. And I think part of our deal is we need to find out what that is and act on it. The second thing is, Jeremiah wasn't sure this was a good idea. I don't know how to speak. I'm only a boy, he says. And I suspect he was quite young when he first heard this from the Lord. But I think for us, the idea is Jeremiah is one of the so-called major prophets. And yet he tried to get out of what the Lord wanted him to do. Now, the Lord didn't let him go, and I think the same is true for us. We have a tendency, especially in the church, to make excuses when we are asked to do something. It's hard to put ourselves out there where other people can see. Prophets in the Old Testament were persecuted. The times that Jeremiah lived were hard times. He was in the southern kingdom of Judah, and the northern kingdom was already gone. And he had to tell the people that they were going to have hard times in Jerusalem. But he did it. He did what the Lord asked him to do. And it was nice that he got a direct, open communication with God to tell him, this is what you are to do. But he was still concerned about his ability. I'm not sure we get the same direct communication that Jeremiah got, but we certainly get a lot of hints on all the things that we can do in the here and now to be, as we say on our t-shirts, God's work, our hands. Most of us aren't going to speak about it. Most of us are going to do things about it. And that's valuable, that's useful, That's a good example for all kinds of people. But we need to get out of the habit of making excuses and get into the habit of saying, yes, Lord, I will do that. So I give you the two parts. God knows you intimately and has known you and me since before we were born. And God calls us to work in and for his kingdom. And it seems to me we should be doing that. Please read the beginning of the book of Jeremiah. See how God dealt with him and how Jeremiah responded. And think hard about how that works in your life, because those two things are true for you as well as Jeremiah. Thank you.